As the old divisions between fashion, streetwear, couture and high street continue to erode, it's only natural for stylists and industry figureheads to look towards original, iconoclastic brands of the past for inspiration. And they don't get much more iconoclastic or original than the cult Italian brand Fiorucci. The legend of Fiorucci has only grown in the years since its name disappeared from the fashion landscape. It was the palace or supreme of its day, a brand that made highly wearable jeans and t-shirts for the glitterati, a brand that used popular culture rather than cultural elitism to sell its dream, a brand that refused to take itself too seriously, yet still made an indelible impact on fashion. Despite the death of founder Elio Fiorucci in 2015 and going into administration in the late 1980s, Fiorucci is back, resurrected by lingerie chain Knickerbox founders Stephen and Janie Schaefer, with a new collection and a huge 3-story store just opened on London's Brewer Street. On the eve of the much-anticipated store opening, Janie Schaefer explains her long-held admiration for the brand. "If somebody asked Stephen and I at the start of our careers if there was any brand on earth we'd like to own, it would be Fiorucci." So many people around that time would have said the same thing. It was so iconic, so groundbreaking. As much about its art and culture as it was about fashion. It's one of the very few heritage brands left that you could do something wonderful with. It was too beautiful a brand to disappear. For those who saw Fiorucci at its peak, the brand seemed to embody the attitude and aesthetics of the era, a rare kind of fashion house at the time, enamored with disco, dancing, nightclubs, shiny fabrics and bright colors. Fiorucci was always mentioned, says famed choreographer and 1980s club kid Leigh Child. Being in the dance centers, someone would have something on. They'd say, "Oh, it's Fiorucci." Just the name sounded exotic and fabulous. It was very colorful, very wearable, very young. In the 80s it was very influential, says fashion writer Karen Franklin, bright neon separates in lycra and hoodie-style fabrics. There were lots of quirky accessories like belts, caps, leggings and bags. It was popular in the clubs for obvious reasons. This was a big casual wear brand that was looking for a London street alignment. It was very early in recognizing that the drivers of the marketing would be the clubland world and art student innovators. In the days before online shopping and Instagram takeovers, the flagship shops in London, New York, LA and Milan were vitally important to the brand's identity, with Elio Fiorucci himself putting a great onus on what happened on the shop floor. In the stage retail culture of the time, they were a breath of fresh air, but took some nerve to visit. "I remember seeing the flagship shop from the bus," says Leigh Child, "but just from outside. I don't ever remember going in because I was intimidated by it." However, ID founder and sometime Fiorucci collaborator Terry Jones remembers the shops well. "My trips to Milan took me to the San Babila branch. The space that Fiorucci created became a hub. This was pre-Colette, pre-stores which were a meeting point and cultural center. It was a brand that went beyond fashion. They'd have a DJ, a jeans bar, different stalls for shoes and underwear. It was a one-stop shop that was a completely different experience from a major fashion department." Before going on to work with Terry Jones at ID, Karen Franklin worked in the London branches during the height of their influence. In the King's Road and Knightsbridge stores, sales assistants were individuals, she says. "They all seemed to be having a party and dressed to make a statement. For a brief while I would do the window dressing in the King's Road. I took garments and ripped them up. I did a lot of layering." Before long, Fiorucci had become an integral part of popular culture. The Beverly Hills branch was featured in the Olivia Newton-John musical Xanadu, and the iconic poster campaigns were shown the world over. Andy Warhol was attracted to the color and fervor of the stores, whilst a young Madonna made her debut performance there at the 15th anniversary party. But perhaps what really cemented the name in the popular consciousness was a name check in the Sisters Sledge song "He's the Greatest Dancer." But this wasn't just celebrity hype. Elio Fiorucci was an innovator, ushering in some of the most important trends of the era, popularizing pieces and styles that are still with us to this day. He is widely credited with bringing a controversial item of South American beachwear known as the thong to prominence in Europe. In the 1960s he brought the clothes of swinging London to Milan and changed the face of Italian fashion forever. He made the Afghan coat cool and pioneered the use of stretch denim. But what of the man himself? His name will be